Okay, I think we're ready to start. It's being recorded. Interpreter, are you ready? Hello, I am Lauren. I work with the CSC as an early language specialist. I am so thrilled to host this first time parent panel discussion. We will focus today on early intervention services as well as newborn baby screening program. We will talk to these mothers who are our panelists today. We will talk about their experiences, their journey, how they receive services here in Hawaii. We are so thrilled to introduce you to Jennifer Clark. She has played a huge role. She used to work as an early childhood deaf and hard of hearing specialist for 11 years. Wow, she's had a huge involvement in the community and collaborating with parents. She will be our host and facilitator today during this parent panel discussion. Jennifer, thank you so very much for being here. We'll turn the time over to her.
Thank you, Lauren. That's a wonderful introduction. I'm honored to be part of this community. I have played different roles, and so now to be able to do fun projects like the parent panel, I think it's going to highlight a lot of experiences that past, current, and future families have and will have. We have three very different families here with us today. We're going to start with Tami because Tami's son is the oldest. So we're just going to go by age. Not that she's the oldest, her son is the oldest. So Tami's going to introduce herself. She has a very unique introduction in that Tami is deaf and she has a deaf son.
Hi, my name is Tami Hiraishi. I have a son who is 8 years old. His name is Tage, and he has bilateral sensory neural hearing loss, just like myself too. So sorry.
That's okay. Did you want to share anything about that yourself or your family or about Tage that's unique to him?
Okay. Tage, he attends community elementary school as a second grader, and he just got out of the IEP program. So right now he's in the 504, and he's doing extremely well in the mainstream classes. And sorry, to go back a little bit, he started preschool at Kahala Elementary School, and he went there from preschool, and kindergarten. And when COVID came, we decided that we were gonna transfer him to our home school where my oldest son attends. So and it made it a lot easier just to have one drop off and one pickup. So
and I will add that the program that Tami's son went to for preschool was a listening and spoken language program, and it's specifically designed for deaf and hard of hearing children who use listening technology. So next we're going to introduce Ginger because Ginger's son is the second oldest in the group. So Ginger's son is also unique. He's the youngest in his family, and Ginger will say a little bit. I think that I can't remember how many older brothers and sisters, but definitely the most out of the whole group.
Hi, my name is Ginger Knowles. I have a 4-year-old son named Trey. He is unilateral, mild to moderate hearing loss. He participated in early intervention when he was, oh my gosh, I guess, let me think, when did he start early intervention? Probably a couple of months old, up to 3 years old. Now he is in preschool. He's in a homebound setting. Like Jennifer said, he does have older siblings. I won't say their ages because then you might be able to guess my age. But he has 3 older siblings. And yeah, that's a little bit about us. And we live on the island of Oahu.
And unique to Trey is that he has a dual sensory impairment. So Ginger, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Trey also has vision loss, I guess I could say. He wears glasses. Too, with his hearing, he wears one hearing aid. He started off wearing two, and I thought that was unique and new for me as a mom, because I did not know that your ears could improve. I thought with him having hearing loss that once he had it, it would stay the same. So I was shocked to find out as he got older, his left ear improved. His hearing canal got bigger, I guess. Is that correct, Jennifer?
Yes. So the hearing levels improved on testing because his actual system widened and allowed for more sound information to pass through. So Ginger's son Trey has a different type of hearing loss than Tammy's. Tammy's son has sensory neural hearing loss, and his hearing loss is not the type that would improve. But because as Trey grew, anatomically speaking, his hearing loss was able to improve, or access rather was able to improve because he had widened his hearing system.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you. So go ahead.
Yes, I was just going to add that Trey is considered deafblind. I wanted to add that.
Yeah, I think that can be a scary terminology for some people, but in Trey's case, he has some hearing loss and some vision loss, but he has an ability to function within the deafblind category because he has dual sensory impairment. So thank you. And Chanel's son is the youngest, so she will go last. Chanel's son also had early intervention for most of his birth to 3 years. So go ahead, Chanel, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Chanel. I have a 3.5-year-old son, Fox. Fox is my first child, so I was a new mom on top of, getting the diagnosis of hearing. So he has unilateral hearing loss in his right ear. The opposite of sensory neural, what was that?
Atresia.
Okay. And that means that his ear canal is small. So like you're explaining for Ginger's son, the sound doesn't go in. So he wears a ponto. What do you call that? Ponto band.
It's a bone conduction hearing aid.
Bone conduction hearing aid. And that helps him hear from that ear. We've been in early intervention. We started intervention when he was like maybe 4 months old, I think. And we got the bone conduction hearing aid when he was, I think it wasn't until he was like 8 months old or something. But since then, he's worn it ever since and really used to it, and no issues so far. He just started preschool in mainstream preschool when he turned 3, and that's an adjustment with COVID and all, and not having the social experience that normal toddlers go through. He's learning, but doing well, I guess. I still worry all the time, but doing well. Oh, and we have a newborn now, so that's gonna be fun for Fox.
So I think something that's unique is that, Chanel has a new baby, and both all Tami, Ginger, and Chanel all have other children who don't have any hearing loss. So they're the sons that they are talking about today have the only identified hearing loss in terms of the children in their family, although Tami is also deaf. So Chanel, since you have the mic right now, I would like to say, because you kind of alluded to some of the feelings that you were having, when Fox was identified with hearing loss, as you sort of went through the process, what were your feelings? How did you emotionally process those feelings?
I would say, like, to be completely honest, in the very beginning, it was like disbelief. Like, I didn't believe it. And I guess going through, all the the screening and then the test and everything, in the back of my mind, I kept sort of thinking or hoping that it wouldn't be true, I guess. And it took me a while to kind of accept it. But yeah, so I guess that I wish, I had accepted it earlier, but I didn't. So I don't know, it's a process.
It is absolutely a process. Tami, I know even though, Tage is a little bit older, do you remember some of the feelings that you had for your son? Because you grew up and you have your own feelings about hearing loss, and, so how did you process all that?
Okay, well, when we found out that Tage didn't pass the newborn hearing test, that was at Queen's Hospital. So it's because he was crying so much. So they weren't sure if he had a hearing loss, but he just was nonstop crying. So we were referred to see an audiologist at Kapiolani Hospital, and Dr. Ann was able to confirm that Tage has bilateral severe to profound hearing loss. And so when it was confirmed that he had the hearing loss, I was a little kind of worried myself, because I was hoping that Tage would be able to, his hearing would be normal, just like my older son. So I didn't think it would be hereditary. So as days went on, I learned to accept it myself. So I'm like, well, it is what it is. So we just gotta take it in. And growing up, I didn't have those newborn hearing tests. And that was like 40 years ago. So they didn't have that system. So now I'm glad that they do have this hearing test today, so we can get the services we need immediately, because it is so important that children need to communicate and hear, because it's not going to happen over time. It will gradually improve, and you will see a big difference in the child's speech and listening. So so I was worried, so Vicky. So after speaking to Dr. Ann at Kapiolani, she gave us some options on whether we want Tage to be hearing with cochlear implants or with hearing aids, and what we want in life for him. So, and it's because the two of us are the only family members who have this hearing loss. And the rest of the family, with my parents and on my husband's side of the family, they're all hearing. So I had to ponder whether we want Tage to learn sign language or get it implanted. And for me, I wore hearing aids all my life. And I decided that, we want to get cochlear implants, because with technology, it has improved a lot from back in my time. So Dr. Ann was able to help us go through the process and everything. So I decided that I will get implanted first before Tage, so I can understand and experience what Tage had to go through. So, and I'm very fortunate that we decided to go that route.
I think that's such a unique and beautiful story to be able to say, like, if I'm going to choose this for my son, I'm going to choose it for myself first. Yeah, it gives me goosebumps every time you talk about it. So thank you for being open about that journey. Ginger, I know that you have did not go to Queens. I believe that you were at Kaiser. Is that right? So a little
Yes,
bit
I was at
different.
Kaiser.
Tell us about your experience.
Well, first off, my feelings were kind of shocked. I was just shocked about the unknown. I was sad because I was just like, oh my gosh, what do you mean? He didn't pass his newborn hearing screening. What do we do next? What's the outcome? I believe the hospital got us involved with early intervention right there at the hospital. I'm really not sure. I hate to say I'm not sure. There was so much going on in the hospital. But I do believe the hospital arranged the connection with early intervention. But I must say, I was saddened to hear that my son had a hearing deficiency. But, with everything else, it's a grain of salt. You just take it and roll with it. And I knew I needed to learn from it. And then from there, I was just like, okay, what do I need to do? And so it went from being sad to trying to find the positive. And I knew the only experience I had with deaf people was when I was in elementary school. I remember having a student come into our classroom that was deaf. And I remember, it was funny that I could remember something, but I remember being taught a little bit of sign language. And I said, oh, Ginger, you need to go back and learn some sign language. And so that was my first thought was, I need to learn sign language for my son, and I believe, and again, here, I'm gonna say it again. I don't know how I got involved with CSC, but some miracle, I found Roz with CSC, and I started taking sign language, American Sign Language with CSC, and with just learning that sadness turned into happiness because I was able to help my son. So one thing I would like to share with parents, the more you learn, the more you can help your child, the better you feel, because you are doing something for your child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hope I answered your question.
Totally. Yes, absolutely. So Ginger talked a little bit about her feelings of the identification and then getting into early intervention. She says, I don't really know how that happened. Chanel, do you kind of remember how that happened, like the bridge into getting into early intervention?
Yep. So I was gonna, just while Ginger was talking, I was like nodding my head the whole time, like, yes, exactly. That's me too. I went from like, disbelief, right? Like I was saying, and hoping that it wasn't true. And then it all of a sudden when I remember, like to this day, I remember the moment where I was, what I was doing when my care coordinator for early intervention called me for the first time. Because it was like a lifesaver. I was all alone. I didn't know anything except for what the internet told me. And I don't know anybody else that's deaf or even hard of hearing. So I remember when my care coordinator called me and it was like, and so it went from like hoping that it's not going to happen, it's not true, to like panic and like just full force. What can I do? Give me everything. I want to try everything. I want to help him and get him everything he needs. And that's what early intervention gave to me. So yes, I do remember that call. And since then, I've just been grateful ever since for those 3 years. I would have been so lost.
And Tami, I am wondering if, I mean, all three of your children were in the early intervention pretty much from the get-go. So can you think back to sort of when you were in early intervention, and then as you sort of started getting services and things started going along, do you remember anything that was helpful for you in early intervention, or any tips that you would be able to give about early intervention?
I know this was 8 years ago, so it's a while back, so I had to try to remember. So early intervention, I know that it was through Taja's pediatrician that referred us to early intervention, and he had to make a referral so that Tage can get evaluated. And then I think right away, the early intervention case coordinator called us and to make an appointment to come and ask us all these tons of questions that we had to fill out. And even though some of them were in the bracket where we didn't apply to Tage because he was already like 1 or 2 months old. And it's like you talk about older child perspective. I mean, Tage is not there yet. So anyway, so and then we were able to get services right away for speech and physical therapy, I think, because he was actually quite with his head backwards like a rainbow. So they try to correct that, but at 2 months old, he was fitted into the cutest hearing aids. You know those ear molds, it fits in to your ear. Oh, it's just so cute. But then and it's so tiny. I think he was able to hear some sounds, but not as perfect as his cochlear implants. So it's just to stimulate his brain so that he can hear and learn how to respond to what he hears. So, and this, in order for it to stimulate his brain, it will also help him with his cochlear implants once he got implanted. And so the early intervention team worked with us with a hearing specialist, the case coordinator, speech therapist, and physical therapist. So they all came over and they did so many different things with Tage. And they made it fun, and they even give you advice, resources, and how you can do it with your child. You know, more practice on paper. Even they kept the folder so we can look at it, and it was really, really helpful. Otherwise, we wouldn't know how to teach a child. So that really was very beneficial to us. And so I think that's it.
Yeah, I want to say what I heard you say, a helpful hint that I heard you say was the binder. I think that there are occasionally some families that will do that. Well, they have one place where they deposit all of their paperwork. And I think that would be a really helpful hint for new families, is to say, hey, you can help to organize yourself from the very get-go if you have a binder to do that. So I think that's a really helpful hint. So Tami kind of talked about the process of evaluation, which is overwhelming when you get the call from early intervention and they're coming and they're setting up these evaluations and they're talking about his fine motor skills and his gross motor skills and his language skills, his socialization skills. And all you're thinking is, My kid has hearing loss. I don't know why I'm answering all of these questions, but I would say that Ginger actually has a really good example as to say how all of these different therapists were sort of able to come and help globally with her son. So if you want to talk about that, Ginger, and then maybe any helpful hints that you have.
Okay. So I would also like to add that my son also has a rare chromosome abnormality. So Trey, he received an OT, a PT, speech, teacher. Let me see, do you have any else? Oh, a hearing specialist, and a vision specialist. I think that's everybody. So I think Trey received everybody that early intervention could offer. And it was great. What I would like to say is it could seem overwhelming. I want to go back with that because when you get the call from early intervention, to hear that I'm gonna say it this way, to hear that strangers are going to enter your house to work with a new baby.
Yeah.
You're probably like, I don't know if I really want that service, because I know I
That's
even
true.
thought about it for a brief moment. So I was like, who's coming? Why are you coming? I don't know you. But I think parents need to really look at the overall picture and know that you're going to take these services to help your child out. So I want to make sure I say that because early intervention does wonders for your child, and they also do wonders for the parent because while they're working with your child, not knowingly they're working with you too. Because you're learning and you're getting some, I'm gonna say it this way too, some mental relief. Um, you're gaining friendships and you're bonding with people that are forming relationships with your child. Um, so early intervention is doing a lot over that 3-year time span. And if you wouldn't take the service, only time you go into the doctors is every so many months. But when you receive early intervention, you're getting constant care for your child. And that's another way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're learning how to do the OT therapy, the physical therapy. So you're gaining, how should I say it? You're gaining the skills to do the work with your child. And the way that I kept up with the techniques is I just asked, I said, do you mind if I start recording? And they looked back at me, they was like, I guess it's okay. Just, make sure you just don't, get our faces and you don't, put it on social media and X, Y, and Z. And I said, oh no problem. I said, I'll use it, for educational purposes and for me. Because, I needed to be able to go back and reference it, And so every time they walked in, I had my camera out and I just started recording and taking pictures. And then it would be funny because after a while they said, Ginger, can you pull out your camera? Can you show us what we did a couple of weeks ago? And I said, sure can, And then we'll go back and we'll watch, how Trey progressed over time, so, it's a good thing to have, technology is good no matter what, but I think that was something I'm glad that I asked if I could record just to see how they were working with him and so that I can have it to reference back and to also have a memory to see, hey, look at Trey at 4 months when he kept his hands fisted, and then now he's moving all over the place, you know. So yeah, that's one thing that I think that was very beneficial for me to do. Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, sort of to sum it up, like, you are Trey's best teacher. You are his number one advocate. You are his, you're his everything. So to make sure that you had all of that information was profoundly impactful for him. And I will hand it over to Chanel, because I would think that Chanel, if she looked back on her 3 years, would say, wow, I came a long ways as a parent. Like, I think that, just through conversation, you said, I learned so much personally to become Fox's number one teacher. So can you tell us a little bit about that and any tips that you have?
Yes. So I completely agree with what Ginger was saying about what early intervention offers the parent. Because I feel like, I don't know, I know I got lucky with who, our therapists, Fox's therapists were. Our dynamic was just so great. We worked well together. They really understood me, I feel like. But I think I needed them like just as much as Fox did. they were, I feel like, we were all a team. We were a team to help him through this journey, figuring out what he needs, how to make him into the best that he can be. And they supported me, they encouraged me, they motivated me, they kept me accountable to, I guess, it helps, right? If you have a meeting every week, then you're like, oh shoot, they're gonna come next year. I better do what I said I was gonna do. Not only that, it also, you have the IFSP meetings every quarter, and it's just great to stop your life and focus and spend just a little bit of time on the development and just what he's done, not only what he's not doing yet, but just realizing what he has accomplished. It's so easy to just focus on what he's not doing yet, but they always remind me, hey, look at the last IFSP. He did that. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess so. So, it's not easy for us, any mom, and then on top of that, to deal with, a special case. You need the support, and that's what they're there for. And they do an awesome job. One thing I would say that I just admire is that they have a way of not telling you what to do and not do. They leave it up to you, and they will never say, because I guess they always tell me, what is best for your child. So somehow they are so good in the way that they just support you in whatever you decide for your child. It was just the best.
I love that. I love that. I think if we can take where we're at now, right, and we can say we've learned so much, Tami, if you can kind of think back, like, what advice would you give yourself back then? Like, looking back, you went through, identified, went through early intervention, got into the Department of Education's listening and spoken language program, and then now he's at his homeschool. So kind of like looking back at all those years, but thinking back to where you were in early intervention, can you think of any advice that you would have liked to have given yourself back then?
Okay. So if I could go, well, early intervention has provided all the resources that we needed. So they provide everything that I can't think of anything that I would change or do anything differently. So yeah, so so if I could go back, yeah, I think they provided everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you could, just to hear yourself say, 5 years down the line, like, I have all the tools that I need. I am where I am, and I have, I've been given all these tools through early intervention, and to sort of like say, okay, I'm good. That's to know that, 5 years down the line, when Tage is 8 years old, that you're going to be able to look back on that time and say, wow, I had everything that I needed to at that point in time.
Yes. So yeah, for Tage, but I wish I had it for myself back then, but it just didn't happen. So,
Yeah.
because my parents had to go out of their own to find the resources, and it wasn't easy though. They had to go to find their own speech therapies for me, and even in preschool at that time, they didn't have early intervention and all those stuff. So when I went to preschool, it was just a whole bunch of regular kids. And so it is very great that they have this early intervention services where everything is all falls in place, where the transition to preschool is just very helpful and kind of relieves your stress.
Yes.
So
and I think Ginger had a different experience with transitioning to the DOE from early intervention to the DOE. So what advice would you give yourself looking back?
Oh my gosh. If it would be up to me, I would take early intervention with me everywhere I would go. Because early intervention, you get early intervention when your child is a baby. And I think you just naturally, you just love on babies. It's like, you just love on little children. And you have three years with early intervention, and you form that bond, that relationship. And you got to remember, early intervention is coming into your home weekly. That almost turns into family, you know. So that transition from early intervention into DOE, that's different. So I don't know how much you want me to say, but
just be honest. I mean, this is a parent panel to talk about your feelings, to talk about, the thing about life, right? Life is not all roses and sunny rainbows, right? So it's like, we can talk about the good and the bad, because families might be right there in the trenches in the bad right now. And they want to say, like, is this just me? Or, is this just my experience? Or was somebody else here before?
And I will say, I am an educator. So coming from early intervention into DOE, there is, I would say, a big gap. And I don't know if it's because we had the 3 years for early intervention, and you bond for those 3 years, and then you had this paperwork, I would say, type of transition, and then you're just expected to drop your child off.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like. You're just supposed to drop your child off. And I'm just like, no. What happened to all the love and the bonding?
Yeah.
Where did it go?
Yeah.
So I hope at some point in time, the state works together to fix that gap, because something needs to be done. Truthfully, something really needs to be done, because I think it's giving parents what I want to say, a false hope when you have such a loving atmosphere with early intervention, and then you go into the school system, and then you want 3-year-olds to be like adults, and they're not.
Yeah.
So especially our sensitive, hard of hearing or deaf children, or special needs children, that might need a little more tender love and care.
Mhm.
So,
And both Ginger, Tami, and Chanel, I would say kudos to all three of these moms, because just what Ginger said, like she kind of felt like that community that she had lost, that family sense that she had lost when they left early intervention. All three of these moms went out and would seek out those opportunities to continue connecting with other families. So they all did that in individual ways. They all formed relationships with other families with children with hearing loss. And they also became advocates and activists within the community. And so that, I think, if I could speak for you, would say that they helped them to continue through that transition from early intervention to the DOE or onto community preschools, because they felt like, I have learned a lot and I feel like I can continue learning, but that will look different. And so all three of these moms went out and seeked opportunities to do that. So I don't know, Chanel, if you want to talk about that, or if you want to talk about, any advice that you would give yourself 3 years ago.
Okay, I guess I'll talk about advice I wish I could have told myself. So I think maybe because it's my personality or something, but I think I wish that I could have just like enjoyed more instead of just being honest, instead of just making it so like I gotta do this therapy and you have to practice this sound and this and this. But then I went, I can say that I participated in the Lena program. So that is like that's for spoken language, and it's a group of families that not everybody has hearing loss, so I don't know. Wait, but the group that I was in, they all did.
Yes. Yes.
So we could trade ideas about speaking, and there I learned how to have a little bit more fun and just how it doesn't have to be so by the book. We can just go with the flow more, and I think I would have liked to do that a little bit more. What else? I don't know. I don't have too much to say about anything negative because it was really just a great thing for our family.
So you talked about joy. So if I can kind of jump on that bandwagon, I'll go to Ginger. Yeah.
I want to jump into real quick, like Chanel said about joy, because we do seem to spend a lot of time with our kids with therapies, multiple therapies. And I feel the same sometimes. I'm like, when do we have time for ourselves, or when do we get those happy, joyful moments? But with that, I want parents to know the therapies are important. Make sure you do participate in early intervention or the therapies that your child needs. But Janelle, I do think the joy is coming for us at some point in time. But I just wanted to tell Chanel I'm there with her about finding the joy, and I think parents like us have to lean on each other for those joyful moments, and we have to look at our kids and find joy within them when they do something special, and see that our hard work pays off.
So since we're on the joy bandwagon, I gotta ask, can you guys share, maybe Tami can start, can you share a joyful moment that you've had with your son who's deaf, who wears cochlear implants, who's in soccer and every other thing? Like, can you share a joyful moment, Tami, that you have with Tage recently?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, so one of the joyful moment was with Tage. He it's how he interacts with his friends. It's very joyful, and they just get along so well. And he has friends who ask him, oh, about his cocaine pants, and they question him. So he always tells them, oh, it's my ears so I can hear. So I'm glad that he's kind of more outspoken, and there are times where he may be kind of self-conscious about it, but I told him, you gotta breathe through it because nobody's perfect. So everybody has something. So, I mean, just be yourself, enjoy life. And I mean, so he really enjoys playing with his friends and like any other normal kid. I mean, regular all kids do, right? So he enjoys sports a lot. So yeah.
And Tami, can you tell us what sports he's in?
Right now he plays baseball for the Hawaii Kai League, and he's really loving it. He's been playing baseball since he was 3 or 4 years old, and he still continues to love the sport, and he wants to always get his best. And his coaches are very understanding. Sometimes they will just yell at him, because I mean, which is fine with me. I mean, I know sometimes, but I know in the baseball field it's huge and you're outside, so you gotta speak loud so every cage can hear. Yeah, so he's tried other sports, but he doesn't really enjoy as much as baseball.
And I'll leave it up to Chanel or Ginger if you guys want to, whoever may want to share next about any joyful moments that you guys have had recently with your sons.
Okay, I'll go. Okay, so I wanted to add one more thing for the advice for myself.
Yeah.
I would say to all parents too, just give yourself a break. Because we do a lot, we do so much, and really people have told me this, and every single time I just like reminded again that our kids have exactly everything that they need, and that's us. So whatever it is, they'll be fine. But anyway, okay. So I
love
want to
that.
share the joyful moment recently. Okay, so in our COVID times, we can't really do much, and Fox has been asking to go to the beach like forever, and every time at his grandparents' house, they ask him, "Oh, what are you gonna do this weekend?" He says, "Go to the beach." But every weekend it's like, "Oh no, we're not going." So we finally went, and I always take pictures, like too many pictures. Fox is like, "Oh no, another picture, mom." So I did the reverse the phone so that my husband and me and Fox, we left the baby with my other my in-laws because he can't be in the sun. But anyway, so we had the camera reversed to us, and I just kept snapping. And after when I looked at those pictures, he was like making funny faces. Every single picture was a different funny face, and like all these posing, and you could just see like he was so happy. Yeah.
Aw, I love that.
So my joyful moment that recently happened was Trey learned how to sign "I love you," and he did it out of the blue, and he was just like laying down, and he says, and I was just like, "Oh, you love me," and I think I scared him, And I was like, "I love you too," and I was like, "Do it again," and he was like, "No," But we all have seen him do it um, from time to time, and it's so cute, And I'm happy because again, when he was born, he would stay fisted. So for him to start isolating his fingers, it's just like, yay. And so we've seen him. I thought he was doing yellow, but somebody else said, well, maybe he's doing play ginger. And I was like, oh, maybe so, So he's doing all these different signs. And I'm just like, you go, Trey. And so I'm just so excited to see, him starting to sign more, especially signs that he has to isolate, his fingers. And I'm just like, yay. So I'm just excited.
And not just a sign to express a want or a need, but just a sign to connect, just a sign to share feelings. And that's, I love that story. We are wrapping up. So, but I always feel like after a conference or after a panel or whatever, we always have that like, oh man, I wish I would have said whatever. And so I do want to make sure that we have enough time. Like if anybody wanted to add any last minute thoughts or anything that you would regret not being able to say, this is a great time to do that.
I want to say one more thing. So, because we're talking about early intervention, and I guess my last thought would be, as we all know, it's not easy. And I feel like early intervention is the tool, the resource that the parents need to be strong, not like mentally, emotionally strong, so that we can help our kids and give us everything that it's just the back. It just supports us to like just have that foundation to know we can do it. They can be anything and everything. And it's just a great start to what's to come. I just wanted to say that.
And I did, Ginger and Tami both got to talk about who was on their early intervention team, but Chanel, you didn't get to share. So did you want to talk about who was on your early intervention team?
Oh,
do you remember all the therapists?
Yeah. Yeah, I had, it's that I just went full force, right? So speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, hearing specialists, oral, what is it? Oral.
Oral. And that was a service that was not provided in early intervention, but that was actually a service that is under IDEA law. And IDEA law is Part C for early intervention, and Part C early intervention says that listening and spoken language, specifically oral habilitation, is covered. And so Chanel took advantage of that opportunity through a contract that was fulfilled by Kapiolani.
Can I add that, I don't know if I should share or not. When I thought Trey was showing signs for autism, we did have him tested. I don't remember. I guess it was a baby, maybe a behavioral specialist or somebody who came in
Yep.
To test him.
Yep, and that was through early intervention.
Yep, that was through early intervention. I'm trying to think who else might have came in.
So on the core teams, as Ginger was saying, OT, PT, speech teacher, outside of her core team was the listening and spoken, the hearing specialist and the visual specialist. And then outside of that, there was also other resources that Chanel accessed the oral habilitation, Ginger accessed the behavioral specialist for autism. So.
Oh, I have one more.
Yes.
Nutritionist.
Oh yeah, nutritionist, exactly.
So just covers everything you can think of that your child might need, I guess. You can find a way.
Yes, and I want to say to both Ginger and Chanel, those concerns came up and you voiced them, right? You didn't just hold them in, and you said, hey, I have this I have this thought or I have this worry, you know, I have questions, and can you help me answer those questions? And those therapists say, I can't help you answer those questions, but let me reach out to our network and let's access other resources within early intervention to be able to provide you that support. Tammy, did you have any? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Ginger.
And I was going to say too, I think early intervention will help parents be prepared for, or maybe I should say it this way, early intervention will help parents and the IFSP for the segue into DOE and the IEP.
Yes, the Individualized Family Service Plan is under Part C, early intervention, and that's the plan that all of the services and the goals are all written in. And then, as Ginger said, the Individualized Education Plan drops the family. That's just the way that goes under Part B of the law, which is that the child moves into an academic setting, and the IEP continues on from 3 on. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I just wanted, that was a lot of acronyms, so I want to make sure.
Yes, I just think having early intervention and the work that you do at early intervention, and you start advocating for your child with early intervention, it helps the parent get prepared for what you need to do when you go into DOE and how you will need to advocate for your child in the DOE setting.
And then Tammy, did you have any last minute thoughts that you will lose sleep over tonight if you don't mention?
I would say don't be afraid to ask questions to new parents, and you can always seek help. There are lots of resources out there, and early intervention are experts in the field, and they have certified professionals to help the child. I know every child looks differently, but it will gradually they will make progress with it. And also I would recommend new families to connect with other families who have gone through the same thing. And for my family, we still keep in touch with the original children with cochlear implants. And we Facebook, text, email, and we still have, well, not right now because of COVID, but if we can, we still get play dates together. And, you know, the kids just have fun together, playing around. And also would it's a very good support group, you know. So, and I would also suggest that new families to communicate with the child as much as possible and use the resources that you have learned from early intervention, because they are very helpful. And also persevere and never give up hope. You have to be strong for your child, and you need to be your child's advocate. So with that being said, with early intervention services, it does take a village to raise a child. So
I have nothing else I could possibly say to end. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. So with that, I will hand it back over to Lauren, and thank you all ladies very much.
Thank you. I want to personally thank Tami, Chanel, Ginger. Whoa, everything that you had expressed. Oh, I was just teary-eyed throughout and goosebumps all the way. It was a wonderful discussion. I hope in a way that this discussion was some way healing for you. And then hopefully this discussion will help other parents, new parents that have recently have a newborn, that the same experience, that are going through the same experiences that you have, the experience of grief. This is a community where we can support and help each other. Thank you very much for your time.